over today, so I got some notes again, but I don't want to miss anything or forget anything, so let's get rolling here. First thing I want to say is a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, or whatever else you may celebrate at this time of the year to everyone. I hope all of you enjoy your time with your family and friends, and if you know someone who doesn't have some place to go for dinner, make sure and invite them over. It's always a nice thing to do. I've had a lot of delays since the last video. We had Thanksgiving, shopping started after that for me. I had some software issues which needed to get worked out, which prevented me from editing any tape. So I was taping, but couldn't do anything with it until we got these software issues worked out. And last but least is my yard work rant, which I'll put up a couple of videos here for you.
Well, this is my fall fun. Every year, this is the fun I get to have. This is why my videos have been delayed. This is the third time I'm doing this for this fall. December 15th or 16th today, one of the two. And I'm lucky that the weather is as good as it is today, because I had to get this off the grass before the snow really falls here. Yep, fun times, fun times. Well, I'm finally done with the leaves for this year. 3 or 4 times each year I have to blow all these leaves off the grass, and it consumes a lot of time on my weekends. These piles are 2-4 feet deep, and they spread into the back of the property here 20-30 feet or so. There's a nice big pile back there, and it just takes up time on the weekends, guys, so I just haven't been able to get out any videos. I've got some in the can. I just got to get them edited and get my next video posted up here. So I'm done with the leaves for this year. So hopefully, I'll get a few more short videos. This one's probably going to be longer, but what can I do? Got to get other stuff done. You know what I mean? So hope you enjoy my little rant here about all these damn leaves. You know, these trees are beautiful in the summer, but trees aren't so beautiful when they're dead and they're laying all over your grass. Thanks for stopping by. Just one more shot from the top of the deck. It's about 100 feet across, and a lot of leaves there. And they don't pick them up here, so we gotta put them in the back. That's our little pond back there.
Now that we got that out of the way, next thing, we sent the F100 out for paint. Came back though, something just isn't quite right. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So the truck came back from the paint shop, and there's just something not right about it. Can't quite put my finger on it, but here it is. I'm going to have to call that painter, figure out what he did wrong to this thing. So, here's the 87 Grand National, but I'm thinking about turning this thing back into a truck. I'm going to borrow Dan's Sawzall and give a cut, run it right behind the driver's window here and along the back, turn this thing back into a pickup truck. I think Dan would appreciate that. So here's the real deal. We took my truck up to Dan's shop, and it's a bit of a smaller shop, and this is his car. It was sitting there. He's rebuilding the engine on this, and he just doesn't have room for both vehicles. So we took my truck there, brought his car here to sit for the winter while we're working on my truck up in his shop. During this time, some of the work is going to be getting done when I'm not there. Other times we work on it for an hour after work. And sometimes, like today's Sunday afternoon, I'm going to run up there and Dan and I are going to work on it for a little bit today. Some of these times it's so short, I just can't take the time to set up the camera to film it live. But I will be filming updates and where we're at. If we're doing something that I think you can't find on some other video, I definitely will film that, get that filmed so that you guys can see that. Next thing I'd like to talk about are setbacks. I really only had one setback so far, and it's not that big of a deal. But I bought some 2017 Mustang tires and wheels. I got what I think was a pretty good deal on them. And when we put them on the truck, they're rubbing the rear fenders. The offset isn't quite enough to go underneath my truck. After doing research, the problem I found is I'm using a 2005 rear end, and from what I found, that's one of the widest rear ends that Ford made. Most guys are going with the, some guys are using the Ranger rear end, some are using Explorer rear ends, or even the older Crown Vic rear ends are not quite as wide, and you have a little bit more room in the fender well. And all of those are great ideas, and I could do that, but my rear end has 46,000 miles on it, and I'm staying with it. So I've got Crown Vic wheels underneath it right now, which you'll see coming up. And if I find a set of Bullet Mustang wheels with more offset, I'll probably go with those. But in the meantime, I've got these wheels for sale, and here's some photos. I'm willing to drive 2 hours from Crown Point, Indiana to meet anybody. My asking price right now is $600. So if you know somebody looking for some wheels, get a hold of me, shoot me an email. I'd love to meet up with anybody and get them sold off, so let me know. So let me run through the current status of the truck. Currently the rear end is just bolted in place. We've got it, we flipped the axle on top of the springs to lower it down. The truck had very tall rear tires, but with the flip and the lower tires, I've got about an 8-inch drop in the back. We still need to notch the frame to allow for suspension travel, but right now it's just bolted in place. We didn't weld the perches on or anything until we get the engine in place so we can get the right pinion angle set. The front suspension is also just kind of bolted in place. It's sitting on it, and we did put the mounting bolts through there and have those drilled in the frames. You'll see it in the coming up videos. So that's bolted in place. And I did pull the old steering column and the gauge assembly out so I can start stripping some of the wire out of there and figure out what I'm going to do with gauges. So what do you say we get going and get to the videos and photos that I have of the work in progress?
Alrighty guys, we just finished cutting the brackets off of the differential. Used a plasma cutter on it, made short work of it. So we're going to grind down what's remaining. And once we get that all ground off and smooth, still have to take off the bracket there and this one, but we're just going to grind the spot welds on that to get those off. Then once we get everything off of here, take this one off on the bottom also. We'll get some axle mounting plates and some U-bolts and get ready to put this thing on the truck. See you in a bit. Alrighty guys, want to give you an update here. We got the front end out of the truck. Got that taken care of today. And also a couple days ago we put the rear differential into it, and I'll give you a shot of that shortly here. But came out fairly easy. 50-year-old bolts weren't that tough to get out of it. And here's a walk around on the truck. Again, I was really surprised at how low that dropped. And we did not take out any springs. It has the original 8 springs in there. Did the axle flip. and actually feels like it's going to have a pretty nice ride. Now here's another shot of the front end, and I'll scroll back to the rear end here, and as you can see, it dropped that rear end down about 8 inches. Now the front end is pretty high right now, so that's kind of going to exaggerate that a bit because of the tilt, but it really came down low. Can't wait to see it with the front end on there. Alrighty, this is where we're at today. Got the front end all stripped, front suspension, shock towers off of it, pulled out the steering column, brake pedals out. Going to trim back this bracket right here, but we're going to leave most of that in the frame just for a little added support, and it's welded in there from the factory so it doesn't look like it'd be real fun to remove. And we're going to trim this one down a little bit just to grind it a little bit smooth there and just make it a little bit better looking. This was where the frame was cut by the previous owner. Going to fill that in with some plate. But we're getting close to getting ready to set the front end in there. Hopefully before the next 2 weeks we'll have that bolted in. Just want to add one more thing. That cross member that was hacked there was done by the previous owner. Judging from the motor mounts that were in this, we're thinking it may have been a big block Chevy, but not 100%. But that definitely was not us who hacked that away, so I didn't want anybody to think that. Here's the original rear end and front suspension. I have both of these sold to a guy who is going to make a gasser out of a Falcon, I believe. And he's going to pick those up in just a couple more days. And we're getting very close to having that merged and installed into that. And another shot with the rear differential and the back end, how much it was lowered. Alrighty guys, I'm going to pull the dash gauge cluster assembly out so we can get behind there a little bit easier for installing, first removing the old brake pedal and then installing the new one. To get these out, there's 8 screws that are around the parameter, 4 on top and 4 along the bottom here underneath. The 4 in the center there do not need to come out. And there it is with it hanging out. I've already disconnected the speedometer cable right here, and I've never taken one of these out. Yeah, sorry about the glare there. So I'm going to assume that all these wires just need to be disconnected and it'll drop out. Not really going to keep track where all this is going because we're going with new gauges and going to rewire the whole truck. See you shortly. Alrighty, got those out. Some of those were actually light bulbs, which I wasn't aware of, and others were like these connectors that just pulled off. So now I'm going to remove the brake pedal assembly. Looks like we got a couple of bolts right in here and some from underneath. So let me get started on that and we'll see what we can do. Alrighty guys, we just got everything kind of sitting in place. The front suspension's just clamped in place. Rear suspension's bolted on, but nothing's been welded yet. Kind of just put everything in place to get an idea of where it was going to sit, how far forward we should move the front suspension. Right now we've got it 1.5 inches forward, and we're going to back it back about another 1/2 inch and see what it looks like. Tough to tell because it's tight on space in here. From a direct side view it looks pretty good, but when you come in at this angle, that front tire just looks like it's too far forward. Here's a shot from the driver's side. A little tight on space in here, so it's hard to really show you what it looks like. But like I say, that front tire is just a little bit too far forward. You know, until you come in from the direct side view, it doesn't look bad. But I still think we'll take it back at least a ½ inch and see what it looks like. Here you can see that the clamps holding the front suspension in place. We have not drilled the holes yet for the locating pins. So once we do that, the front end will drop down. Looks like about 1 inch to 1.5 inches further. But right now we just have it clamped in place. And when the wheelbase on the truck from the factory was 128 inches, right now we've got it at 129.5, and we're going to back it up, like I said, about a ½ inch. Hello everyone, welcome back. Wanted to give you one last look at the front suspension here. We have the locating pins drilled and the tubes installed, although not welded yet. We'll get to that soon. And got a little bit better view of the side of the truck now, so we'll step back and show you what the final ride height's going to be on it. So we took the front end back off for drilling the tubes, but looks like it's going to sit pretty darn good, pretty level, especially once we get the engine back in there and the front sheet metal back on. It'll be a little bit more weight on that front end, so I think it'll lower it just a hair more. But from this point, it looks, I'm pretty pleased with it. So we'll sign off here and we'll see you on the next video. Alrighty guys, let's wrap this up. It's cold out here. I hope all of you enjoyed the video today. I hope you have a great Christmas season, Hanukkah season, Kwanzaa, whatever else you may celebrate. Make sure to enjoy some time with your families. Family is a very important thing to everyone. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for stopping by. Whatever else you want to call it. I hope you all enjoy it. I suck at this.